In a lot of my videos, I tell people that I like to eat clean, I like to eat healthy, and I like to eat the things that God told us that we can eat. And I don't like to eat the things that God told us is unclean for us to eat. And so I get a lot of messages and comments on the video section on YouTube saying, look, you can eat whatever you want now. Jesus said in Matthew 15 that it's not what goes into your mouth that defiles you. Just today, my dad had asked me to fix his car. Something was wrong with his brakes. And so he bought some brake pads thinking that it was just the brake pads. One of the brake pads were in really bad condition. And so because the brake pads were so bad, the rotors were also bad. It affected the rotors. So those brake pads didn't only affect itself, but it also affected the rotors. But then I took a look at the calipers and I made a discovery. What the calipers do is the calipers are supposed to clamp onto the brake pads, and the brake pads are supposed to clamp onto the rotors, which make the car stop. And when my dad disengages the brakes, the calipers are supposed to open up. One of those calipers were stuck. And so the calipers that hold the brake pads were really the source of the problem. So if I only changed the brake pads, it would not solve the problem. The same problem would occur because the calipers were stuck. It wasn't functioning correctly. Of course, the brake pads and the rotors were also causing problems, but the source of those problems were the calipers. And so I pretty much needed to change everything: the rotors, the brake pads, and most importantly, the calipers. And when the calipers are functioning correctly, the brake pads would also function correctly, stopping the rotors from rotating and causing the whole vehicle to stop. Jesus said in Matthew 15 that it's not the food that defiles us. It is not the food that goes into the mouth that defiles us. It's what comes out of the mouth that defiles us, because what comes out of the mouth comes from the heart. And from the heart comes sin. So even though those food that God told us not to eat will defile us, it is not really the food that defiles us. It's the heart that defiles us. And just like those calipers, if those calipers are changed, then the problem would be solved. We wouldn't get brake problems or rotor problems any longer. Same thing with us. If our hearts are changed, then we wouldn't disobey God, because our hearts are naturally in enmity towards God. And so we need to let God change our hearts first. And when God changes our hearts, then we wouldn't do the things that God told us not to do. Then we wouldn't eat the things that God told us not to eat. It's all about the heart. Let God change your heart first, and you wouldn't eat the things that God told you not to eat. But it's really a matter of heart conversion. And so maybe we need to ask God for a heart transplant. God, change my heart so that I wouldn't be disobedient to your law.